official Riot Games Fabric EMEA Championship.
Everybody round here know we getting hype. Everybody round, 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 everybody round here know we getting hype.
That's the kind of steal you like to see, where Xin even gets himself out. We'll see whether you guessed the correct ending. Put it in chat whether you did. Tell the truth. Tell the truth if you did. I'm Stress, joined by Stuart for our second series of the day, our second semi-final of the day. And we've just come off a really hype series between Gamelord and Viv Esports. Now we get to turn our attention to one of the other titans of RIX and one of the other underdogs of Formulation. Both of these teams, I think, have had some pretty good games so far, but both have kind of faltered a little bit from time to time. So, Stuart, this is going to be a hype series. We're going to get into it in a minute or two, but let's hear from Hells on what his topics of picks to watch are for this game.
Thank you very much, Stress. So between RIX and Formulation Gaming, we know Zix is a power pick. This is not only between them, but we know this is between every team. And recently, people have started to understand that Zix is kind of broken. And we're definitely going to see it with these two teams, especially from RIX. We saw Doom play a lot of Zix. But then talking about another player that plays a certain champion is Faco. He plays Seraphine, and oh my god, was it good. We saw it happen a few days ago. Just this guy is phenomenal on Seraphine, and I bet you that he's gonna pull it off today as well. So is she gonna get banned? Is she gonna get picked? That's gonna be interesting. But talking about pick and bans, RIX has a very wide pool of champions, right? Like RIX can play it all, and that's kind of their power. Like if you ban away the Ziggs, Doom is just gonna play something else. If you ban away whatever you want, like whatever you think is good to ban away against RIX, they're just gonna pull off something else and pick it. It doesn't really matter. So that is it for the key points. It's gonna be very interesting to see what the game is gonna be like. So back to Stress and Stuart to cast the game.
Thanks, Hells. Stuart. So, RIX, they theoretically are one of the big titans of the tournament. Explain perhaps to new viewers, like RIX's legacy from last year a little bit and why we have such high estimation and expectations on them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, last year in the Origin series, they won pretty much every single month of Origin series. Unfortunately, they did fall at the last hurdle and they weren't able to go to the Rising Cup. But some of these players, the likes of Doom, the likes of Snitch, have been around from Wild Rift since the start, and they're players that you should all keep your eyes on as well. And Hal said it briefly there as well. You know, you got wide champion pools on the side of RIX because they've been playing the game so long. They know the game as well from playing PC League of Legends beforehand as well. So they got, like I said, a legacy in the game as well. But one thing I want to talk about Formulation as well, actually, is that how unpredictable they are as well. There's so many interesting picks that me and you know about from Formulation. It's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, we've had the pleasure of casting Formulation a little bit as they were coming up. The lineups here: Random, SE7, Snitch, Doom, and Clue are kind of an all-star lineup for RIX. On the other side, Formulation, it's UI, Kimau, Don, Feko, and Zawa. And for me, the reason that I predicted Formulation is because they play a style that I really love watching. They actually team fight pretty much, I would say, better than most teams in the WREC. And the reason for that comes from those unorthodox picks. Feko, we've already heard a little bit about the Seraphine bottom lane. He's played the Galio bottom lane, loves playing. He's kind of like a hybrid of like tank, utility, but can also build damage carries down in the bottom lane. Very different from what teams were playing coming into the split. And we've started to see teams adapt that. We just in our last game saw Seraphine being played as a bot lane carry here. So I think Formulation showed that they have a lot of things under their belt. It kind of depends now. Can they make it work against such high standard laners like RIX have?
They got a mountain to climb indeed to try and take down RIX. And RIX, we haven't seen them play for the last few weeks, so maybe they've come up with something new as well. They didn't play during the week. So But not a lot of people know what they've been, preparing behind the scenes. Maybe they've been preparing a few hidden picks that we don't know about, playing scrims and everything as well. Formulation, we know a little bit about them already. But like I said, they're so unpredictable. And Feko, you said as well, the Seraphine, we saw Seraphine Sona last game, which shout out to Redemption Heste. I love you guys for playing the combo, bringing a bit of a flashback to when I used to play Seraphine Sona with Komoto as well, who plays
in
for
my
KTRL.
day, I used to play Seraphine and Sona in the bottom lane. Right, we're into draft for game one. I'll stop memeing you because this is one of the most important series we're going to have. Okay, RIX, I think you've got to ban the Ziggs away from Doom. Like, Doom looked too good last week on this Ziggs, and we've seen how high priority Ziggs Rakan is. So for RIX, I think it's too strong in that bottom lane. Rakan banned away from Formulation. Zhao is not going to have that engage potential. Now we look to Olaf being banned a whole lot. We've seen a lot of Fiora bans, some Ziggs bans, the Yuumi bans. Like, I wonder where Formulation will stick their bottom lane bans here.
I think it was the last game of the last series. We didn't see Fiora picked or banned, so that's 100% pick ban rate for Fiora out the window now, which we I think we spoke about yesterday in the headlines. But already focusing a lot on Zawa, RIX.GG. Rakan taken away, Galio support taken away. Obviously, Feko's played as a dual lane, as a dual lane carry as well. The Varus being banned away beside of Formulation. Olaf as well. These are pretty standard bans, to be fair. Nothing really too crazy. In the last series, we saw Fiora would lose twice, but you don't want to give SE7 or random Fiora because these two work so well. And the Jace being banned as well. So set is potentially open. Obviously, Ziggs is open as well.
Yeah.
Not too sure if it's going to have high priority just yet, or it's going to be the Gragas instead.
Yeah, I think that, of course, could go random SE7 Snitch. Ziggs, I think, is a really strong pickup here from Formulation. I think you needed to take it off Doom. And I'm going to be a little controversial and say that the games that I've watched from RIX and the ones that I have casted, I felt that when Doom isn't on a Varus or a Ziggs or an Orianna, I think he struggled to have as much priority and presence in the game as some of our other carries from that bottom lane. However, Corki is, I think, a really good, solid pick in the same vein, where you have that survivability, you're able to play towards the late game. With the Thresh, you have a lot of security as well.
And Zawa's champion pool already is getting lower and lower down the list. We see fast picks happening as well. Don, mid lane, Irelia, we've seen it before. Most likely will be played in the mid lane. But Zawa's champion pool, Rakan's gone, Galio's gone. The early priority on the Thresh as well. We've seen Zawa play all of these champions. And to be honest, I don't know if we've seen much else from him from every other champion. So maybe he will have to play something else from the WREC that we haven't seen him play before. But that was a really quick first round of the draft. Jack's being banned away. Again, we spoke about Corki. I think the Corki ban for the side of Game Lord in the last series is something that all teams do against Game Lord, just because how comfortable and how strong Redemption is on the Corki. But it's being picked up this time by Doom. I haven't seen it too much for Doom, but I think, like you said, a champion overall, that's just really safe. The package that it offers as well, that team fight presence in that first 4 minutes of the game is going to be really, really important in the series.
Garen getting banned out. There's a lot of melee range so far for Formulation with the set and the Irelia. If they were to pick a Garen, something like that, it might be exploitable by a Darius from RIX. We know his Darius got a quadra kill in week 1 of this tournament, so it's always going to be a pick that's available for RIX as long as it isn't banned. Renekton taken off the board. A lot of this melee range and Baron lane focus from both teams as well. Let's see where RIX go with their last one. This could be set in the Baron lane. It could be set as a support. I mean, we were seeing set jungle, but it's been a couple of weeks before we've really seen that, well, at least since we've seen that being picked up.
I mean, interestingly enough, this makes me feel like it might even be a set Gragas matchup as well, because both teams are banning out barrel laners. So both teams are kind of, I guess, baiting each other in a way, in terms of like, okay, we're going to ban out barrel laners, so you have to play Gragas in the top lane because there's nothing else. And then it's the same on RIX as well. And there's loads of baron lane champions. Nunu by Kimau. We've seen this a little bit. The zone control that Nunu offers as well is really, really strong. Kimau's played it a couple of times as well. So potentially waiting for that last pick, the flex pick, which is a great thing about red side. You can leave a pick until last. You can say to RIX, okay, we need to see what you've got now for the barrel lane, and then we'll decide whether we want this set to go in support or in the barrel lane.
And the one thing that Nunu does on top of the Irelia and the Ziggs, you've got a lot of things to avoid in a team fight now, like the Irelia stun, the Nunu ultimate, like a lot of zone control. That's a Riven picked up. So we'll see whether it's going to be random or Snitch taking the Riven through this game. Last pick pick will fill in the gaps on this pick and ban phase. And there's Random's Darius. We talked about it already. So jungle Gragas, Riven in the middle lane, likely into Don's Irelia. Irelia has been played by Don a number of times already this split.
This could be an interesting flex. I have to mention that we've seen a lot of Riven being played in the jungle, especially in other regions like SEA, Korea and China have played a lot of Riven jungle. Maybe SC7 is going to pick it up. The last pick is going to be the Brom, so it is going to be set up in the Baron lane with Don playing mid lane on the Irelia. But I'm interested to see where this flex pick's going to go. Is it going to be Riven in the jungle with Gragas mid, or is it going to be Gragas jungle and Riven mid? Because I haven't really seen Snitch play too much Riven, unless it's a pick that we haven't seen from them, because we haven't seen them for a few weeks and they haven't been playing in any other tournaments. So it's hard for teams to kind of predict RIX because they've probably been working on a few things behind the scenes.
Yeah, and one thing I want to bring up, these two team compositions, like Formulation basically saying like good luck ever getting to Fekko on this Ziggs, like diving past the Nunu, past the Braum. Even the Irelia causes problems there to lock people down. Set can peel, for instance, that Riven right off the Ziggs. So if Formulation can get the team fights the way they need to, it should be quite easy to protect Fekko. However, RIX, we know how good they can be. We know how they are going to be able to scale into the later game as well with the Corki. Like, it's not like Ziggs has free reign of the late game. Corki can do a very similar job. And if you can use that package to good effect and really cut the team fights up, maybe there's an opportunity there for RIX. But I think this is a very interesting set of drafts. It's very much what I expect Formulation to play. And RIX, as you said, we haven't seen much of them from the last couple of weeks, but I think they have some big power picks that we can expect, for instance, Random to go huge on.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Random on the Darius. Doom, we don't really see much on the Corki, but it's still a pick that works really, really well. And we'll have to see where that Riven and Gragas go. But I think you set it up perfectly for Formulation. Their job is basically to protect the Ziggs. They got the Brom, they got the Nunu for the zone control as well. So it's going to be hard for the likes of, Gragas, Riven, and Darius to try and dive onto the Ziggs. But that's going to be enough. I'm really interested to see what it's going to be. Okay, so it's going to be the Gragas mid and SC7 playing Riven jungle, as I kind of not really. I wouldn't say predicted, but kind of maybe expected it to be.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of flexibility on blue side, which is less standard than on red side. That is a heavy vote coming from chat. I think what I would say is, for me, as somebody who came into the scene after the end of last year's competitions and not seeing how dominant RIX were in the Origin series, my memory of RIX is in January, where we saw SC7 overextending, Random like doing a good job at carrying, but like RIX struggling to get team fights, struggling to engage. And I'm a little bit temperamental because this Formulation composition denies team fights very well. I think RIX have the ability to do it. I just have a little bit of like a different warped sense compared to some other people. And Don is now in a little bit of trouble. This is one of the things with Irelia is you can get pushed in quite heavily in the early game. Snitch is going to be able to push and roam and get vision control. And this early game, pretty quiet to start out. Zawa trying to get up towards the middle lane as Snitch now is in a bit of trouble. Random, he will get the heal though. Haymaker is gonna punch through Random's defenses. UI will end up falling to SE7, and Random just misread that trade.
That's a solo kill for UI on Random. That's something that I did not expect coming into this series. But in the end, SC7 was able to follow up with the Riven. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned briefly about RIX.GG. Obviously, they have changed their lineup ever so slightly from the one we saw last year with like Doom, who played jungle last year. He's moved back to his AD carry role, which is what he prefers. SC7, obviously, when we both last casted before the WREC RIX.GG, I think SC7 was still quite new to the team. So they're still trying to, get their bearings and things like that. And you can see that,
his bearings the top lane right now. Gets the stun, looking for the second kill on this Riven. Haymaker once again is going to cause problems. UI is going to be able to get out of that. So well played to be able to get out of that with no summoners.
Yeah, really, really well played by UI using the Haymaker. You just see how much shielding that the set gets. And Clue is, I don't think Clue is ever been in a lane. I don't even think Zawa's ever been in duo lane as well. I think it's just a Corki versus Ziggs solo duo lane at the moment. It looks like there's a little bit of exchange by them two as well in the duo lane, but both them teams should be okay. But yeah, I mean, no surprise that RIX.GG has the favour of the Twitch chat. RIX.GG has a load of fans, like the Snitch and Doom, has a lot of fans, Random as well, and no surprise that the fans also, or the community of Wild Rift is also voting for RIX.GG.
Rightfully so. I mean, when RIX have been like dominant, I mean, Random has torn through the top lane. Like Random has looked head and shoulders in previous games higher than any of his top lane competition. And that's why it's so surprising that we saw him misread the trade here and die in a 1v1 against UI. Like, that does not happen. However, this is what RIX do, is they punish when they can. UI does not have his flash available, and while it's Thresh and Random here, now it's going to be Kimau trying to get the lockdown. There's the suplex attempt, but it's not enough as he bleeds during the animation. Good kill from RIX. This is what they do, is they assess where that they're starting to kind of hemorrhage a little bit from the top side, and now they've repeat ganked UI to make sure he can't get presence on this game.
The Clue's just been first at the moment. Zawa's been a bit slow on these rotations. Excuse me, and Braum doesn't really do too much on these rotations either. You can see kind of how strong Thresh can be using the hook, which didn't land that time, but you can use a hook and even use the lantern as well to help Random get out of a difficult situation, which allowed Random to flash in, use the ultimate and kill off UI, and then use lantern to get away. But now they're going in for another fight.
Yeah, Kimau does not have absolute zero available. They used the Mega Inferno bomb to get the damage down, and here comes Don. This is the way the Formulation have played their team fights, is they've had these assassins jump into the back line. It's Feko that picks up one, and I believe UI picked up the other. Kimau on this Nunu is very hard to outsmite, but the eye has opened on the back of the Herald. They split this fight up, and UI is going to be able to deal damage from the side as Feko picks up the Rift Herald. The low health bars, SC7 gets dropped as well. It's Feko on such low health. Snitch is the only member alive, and he's waiting on cooldowns. UI is going to step onto the barrel. It's a double kill for Snitch. Kimau is going to back away because Feko out of health, out of mana, and nearly out of time as Clue is trying to close the distance. I think Formulation will get away with that. The fact that they get the Rift Herald will allow them to kind of push down the middle lane, but that is a very back and forth fight.
We've had 10 kills already in 5 minutes of Wild Rift action, Stress. This is what we love about Wild Rift, just constant action, loads of team fights, and hopefully we get a replay on that Herald fight very soon. But Feko did pick up the Rift Herald in the end, and he's going to look to try and use that with his satchel charge to maybe try and break down this mid lane tower. You normally see the jungler securing the Herald, and now we're going to look back at it. You can see the initial engage by RIX. We didn't see the initial engage, unfortunately, by RIX, but this was the engage by Snitch. Really good explosive cast, but Don being able to dive onto the back line, stun Doom as well, and get the kill. These are just really, really low health bars, but throughout all of this, Snitch was able to just stay healthy throughout the whole of this fight, using the passive, using the regeneration that he gets from using his abilities, and it was just really, really close fight overall. And Herald was so low throughout the whole of that. It's like both teams like, okay, Shelly, you could just chill for a little bit. We're not going to kill you. We're just going to team fight first. We're going to fight over you.
A little bit fortunate for Snitch that Feko had 0 mana at the end of that. I think like 1 bouncing bomb plus the consume from Kimau would have been enough. Nunu, we know how difficult he is to unseat when it comes to actually taking objectives, and that's what Formulation do, taking that first Drake. Here's that play onto mid lane tower that they're going to do, and they've done it before the minion wave actually arrives. So if they can get close enough, I don't know. You need to put another 300 or 400 damage down. Zig's ultimate is going to split the fight, but that's massive damage in exchange. Explosive cast. Snitch has played this beautifully, and they pick up the first kill onto Zawa. A misplay by Formulation. It was too early. Absolute zero comes through, but SC7 with the AoE damage from the side on this Riven is going to open the door for Doom to pick up 1. They don't connect with Don's ultimate, and that's 3 dead. Rift Herald did not get the tower. Formulation with a blunder in middle lane is going to allow RIX to settle themselves on the map.
Yeah, like you said, a little bit of a misplay by Formulation in the mid lane. They used the Rift Herald. They didn't even use the Rift Herald near the tower, so the Rift Herald had to walk his way to the mid lane, and that allowed RIX.GG to just quickly roam to the mid lane. If the Rift Herald was maybe used a little bit closer, it would have been fine, but you can see here, they're trying to walk up, they're trying to take the mid lane tower, but a great explosive cast by Snitch splits up the team fight. It means that Don's on the side, which means that Clue comes in, and the flank as well by SE7. The triple stun into the knock-up as well. They tried to get a few members Formulation to try and die. And you see Snitch and he had to go a little bit overextending, but in the end, a little bit of a misplay by Formulation. I think they just really wanted to take advantage of that Rift Herald, but unfortunately weren't able to. UI.
UI. This game started so well. He's going to have to haymaker his way out of this one. Saves it. Flashes during the animation. Here comes Kimau into the bottom lane. If he can lock Random in place, Random actually keeps himself under the tower to get stunned. Zig's ultimate forces the flash. That's a big cooldown used on both sides, and Random gets away. 3 kills on the board, and considering UI solo killed him to start this game, Random has fought his way back into it. Now Feko does not have his flash, has his barrier, gets blasted back in this one, and now falls. And Formulation, this is starting to fall apart for them, and their whole composition is based around team fighting, and they're getting killed piecemeal through the jungle on the bottom side. Now Zawa low health, Clue is going to at least be around as Doom is trying to push mid lane. Formulation needs to kind of settle down and stop taking some of these fights when they don't have everybody there.
Yeah, they're getting picked off around the map at the moment, honestly, but really, really well played by RIX and by Random and Snitch, catching out UI in the duo lane, and SE7 just using the sweeper just around the other side of the wall, realizing that Ziggs was there. And yeah, we haven't really spoken too much about this Riven, but Riven, the jungle, just has so much mobility. You can move around the map so much. It's not really a popular pick here in the EU, but as I mentioned in draft, it has been a popular pick in other regions like SEA. And it just shows in this game as well, when you have that extra mobility, when you have the flank potential of Riven as well, you can deal so much damage and get that crowd control as well. And Feko's having a little bit of a tough time on the Ziggs. And as you said, you know, the comp is mainly worked around defending Ziggs, but he hasn't been defending quite well this game.
Yeah, part of the problem is like this composition wants RIX to engage towards it, and then they back away and like utilize that zone control, have Feko with so much distance between the damage of RIX and him so that he never gets fought or never gets caught. The problem is the mid lane play, they're playing forward into the tower to try and get it down. So Feko's having to overextend forward. It's the same in that bot lane play. They don't have enough members there to defend him. And it just means that this composition is not actually being activated in the way that they need to. And now that SE7 has the Proto Belt as well, if you can get that Proto Belt stun out from Riven onto Ziggs, it's so hard for you to survive from that. Gonna need to make sure the stasis is there for Feko, needs that flash to be available as much as he possibly can as well. If you get that flash burn, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you need to make sure you just don't overextend if you're Feko as well, because one explosive cast by Snitch could be a difference. So speaking of explosive cast,
there's one onto Zawa, no real follow-up there. And Feko has low mana though. That's not the situation that the Ziggs needs to be in. Perhaps need a little more itemization required on the mana regen. I think this might be a risky start here because SE7 can close the gap quick enough. I know they have the Nunu with the consume. Rift Herald used in the middle lane is going to break it. Glacial Fissure is going to split this fight. The low health bars though on Formulation already, and they haven't started channeling Absolute Zero. SE7 has already picked off Zawa. Kimau is down, didn't even use that ultimate. Now Feko is in a lot of trouble. They have found another team fight. Rift Herald is already pushed through mid tower, and RIX are demolishing the team fight comp from Formulation.
Beautiful flank by SE7 in the end. You can see the Formulation were the ones that tried to start the Dragons, start the initial team fight. Unfortunately for them, it just didn't work out. They didn't get to pick up the members that they wanted to. They picked up Random, but then if you kill Random, SE7 is still alive. If you kill someone else, then, you know, Doom is still alive. It is just so many targets that you need to focus on the side of RIX. You see UI with a flank here, does use the ultimate onto Random, but Random just protobots away, and he's completely fine at the moment. He's tanking up all the damage, and then SE7, look at the combo there. The body slam, the knock up by SE7 afterwards as well, and that's the wombo combo that RIX.GG can offer, and they pick up a perfect team fight. Like you said, it's pretty dominant at the moment. Nearly a 10,000 goal lead already for the side of RIX.GG, and Formulation going to try and take this top lane tower. There's 4 members up here as well. SE7 is split pushing down in this dual lane as well. You need to be careful, but Random's here as well. They're going to start fighting a 4v4.
Random has his Proto Belt. If he wants to go, he can, but they're going to deny because they know, of course, SE7 pushing down that bottom lane. It's not too much that they just lost from that. RIX will be able to kind of reset back on the map and make sure that they keep their lead. I think RIX, I'm starting to see that they've put together the pieces a little bit more on a team than the individuals that we saw coming into week 1 and the first few weeks. It feels like RIX are very much now on the same page, and it's hard to beat because you've got these superstar players who are great individually, now pairing that up to be a great team on top of it. And I think that's the difference here, is like RIX seem to have fixed a lot of the issues that I had, concerns about coming into this tournament.
Yeah, we like to call that a super team. That's what we call it.
Avoid using that term. I don't want to use that term. That's always the curse when you start calling people super teams.
We can see it's already been cursed as well from PC League of Legends and the LEC, but we won't talk about that. We'll focus on Wild Rift. But yeah, SE7 nearly has 4 items. I think he's going for Infinity Edge as well. It looks like as the his 4th item, but insane damage that he can offer, and yet he's just gonna easily kill Don here. Don's in a lot of trouble.
Don, his flash is like 1 second away. He's ticking down. Will get dropped by the ignite from Clue. Glacial Fissure, these are low health bars. If Fekko can keep himself safe and deal damage from a distance, there's an opportunity here for Formulation. Couldn't quite get the engage as the flash comes through from Clue, and that was touch and go for a moment for RIX, but they've been pushing through topside at the same time. RIX is just causing problems in too many locations for Formulation to deal with. There's minions pushing down in the bottom lane tower. Random is pushing in the middle lane. The top tower is already fallen as SC7 is going to go and finish the job on this inner tower. And RIX, they're just really smothering Formulation out of this game.
The macro play by REC.GG is completely perfect at the moment. You know, 6 towers to 1. You could tell that they're just trying to split up the map. SC7's down the Dura lane. You see Corki and a Thresh in the mid lane. And the Corki even roamed up to the Baron lane as well to help Snitch. So it's kind of playing, it's sort of 1-3-1 style where they can just force Formulation to roam around the map as 5 and force them to try and make plays. And in a situation like that where Formulation tried to pick up a fight, unfortunately they couldn't in the end, but a hook lands. That was in a bit of trouble. Yeah, Zhao's
on a ward is the biggest problem there. They haven't been able to sweep it out. Kamau is going to at least spot the ward, but he's going to end up falling from this. Had to pop the Gargoyle Stone Plate, gets the absolute zero interrupted right away, and now that means that Nunu does not have the potency that it needs. Fekko, he's such low health that from a distance he only hits his ultimate onto 1, and yes, Don's got 1 kill. Yes, they're starting to get a few pieces of damage down, but look, there's enough of RIX to be able to push through, because all the way SC7 has been pushing through bottom lane, has been pushing through the Dragon lane and nearly catches Fekko as well. That is an inhibitor, and SC7, the new jungler on RIX, has decided he wants to play side lane this game and is eating through the base of Formulation. He's going to try and 2 versus 1. He's tanking up 2 towers. He's buying the space for top lane push for RIX, and I think this game is all but done. Formulation have struggled to find their footing on the game, and they're 16,000 gold down at 15 minutes into the game.
This is one of the cleanest macro games I think I've seen from a team in the WREC. The perfect situation of putting pressure in all 3 lanes, and SC7 as well. They're even winning 4 versus 5 fights as well. You can see SC7 is down the Dura lane. Set and Ziggs are trying to roam up as well. It's currently 4 versus 3 for RIX, but then even when the roam comes in as well, Fekko already gets taken down to 1 HP by all this Corki damage. And you can see that they're trying to get fights and trying to get situations because they're in a 4 versus 5 situation, but Doom is just over the wall doing so much damage to the side of Formulation. And meanwhile, whilst all this is happening, SC7 is just pushing down the Dura lane, gets the inhibitor as well, and now you're always going to have that constant pressure. You're always going to have these super minions that you can be pushing in the Dura lane and also in the Baron lane as well. And you can see RIX, they don't realize that they're standing on the wall. They're trying to get a pick here. Maybe Formulation can try and look to capitalize on that. But look, SC7 again, again, is just in the Dura lane. He doesn't care at all. The jungler is split pushing in the Dura lane. It's not a lot that you really say that. Not a lot of times.
No, very infrequent, because you want that jungler around your objectives to be able to smite. But look at the mobility of SC7 to close the gap. Now they know that the bot lane super minions are going to push in. They know that Fekko just used his ultimate, and to be quite frank, there's not enough damage coming from this Ziggs to actually do anything. RIX are too far ahead with this composition. Now they have the Baron buff. If SC7 wants to go back bottom lane, he can probably end the game, as that's the hook onto Kamau. Kamau is going to fall. Absolute zero gets blocked, and I was hoping to see a little bit more from Formulation, but RIX have absolutely destroyed them as Random on that signature. Darius is going to go for the triple onto the killing spree. SC7 picks up the 4th kill of the fight, and Fekko, this composition was built around him for this Ziggs, but he has not been able to get the damage out. Beautiful cast from Snitch is going to end the game in the way it started, and that is going to be 25 kills and a game win on the board for RIX.
Dominant victory by RIX in the end. You can see they come in with a game plan. They knew what they wanted to pick. They come up with this new jungler that we're seeing in the EU, which is the River Jungle, and they just played the map so perfect. They were pushing the lanes constantly. They were just toying around with Formulation. And Formulation in the end, they were just always on the back foot, I feel like, from the start. They didn't really find any way into this game. And as you look at the replays as well, the first fights were a bit close, to be fair. They were very back and forth. You know, Don jumping in here as well with his signature Irelia pick, but as the game went on and has RIX just got more and more control of this game, you see Snitch as well was definitely a highlight, I feel like, for me in this game. His explosive cast, his engages as well with the body slams was so clean, and he was always the one that kind of looked for them big engages. I felt like he was probably one of the main talking points as well for the side of RIX. You can see how much damage a Gragas could do in the end as well since the recent bust. But this little overextension here as well, again, another explosive cast by Snitch, and again, I feel like it's just a few mistakes here and there by formulation, but I can't take anything away from RIX. Like I said, probably one of the best macro games that I've seen in the mid and the late game, just pushing every single lane, just toying around with formulation as well, which was so nice to watch.
Yeah, RIX looking very strong. Ever since that mid lane push, it just felt like they're like, okay, that's everything they had to throw at us. We absorbed it. We can just continue playing. And SE7, I think, having just so much freedom on the map. This is the first real strong Riven performance, perhaps, that we've seen in Europe. It's, as you mentioned a few times, it's not really a European pick, but SE7 showing that RIX have this playstyle that the other teams haven't caught on to yet. The SE7 just completely monstering over the side lane to push through Dragon side of the map. I mean, RIX, there's not too much more to say aside from a handful of errors when it comes to like that first 1v1 from random that he dropped, and then one or two other things throughout the game. Very, very clean from them and hard to deal with. Like formulation just could not get that comp to work for them.
They just couldn't get. We were talking about it in the draft. You know, you kind of have to. Yeah, play that zone control. You have to kind of play a front to back sort of team comp with this, or play style, I should say, with this team comp, and try and defend Fekko. But it's really hard for Fekko to even survive when you have so much engage. You have so much mobility from the likes of Gragas, Thresh, SE7 as well on the Riven, and Random actually doing the most damage, not in the game, but for his team. But Fekko, even though he was on the losing side, look how much damage he does compared to the rest of his team. He really tried his hardest in this game, but overall, a very, very solid performance by RIX, and a very dominating one. And we kind of expected coming into it because there was a little bit of a goal lead by formulation at the start. It's basically nothing, to be fair. I mean, even though it's on the red, but you can see a steady climb, which is what RIX.GG, you know, how RIX.GG work. You know, they get that little bit of a lead, they take advantage from the enemy's mistakes, and then when they do have an advantage, when they do have their goal lead, they play the game so well, and they play the map so well. And you can see throughout the whole game, they were able to just increase that goal lead, get the picks that they needed, and take that first victory.
Big part of that was, I think, Snitch's Gragas. We saw the highlights, and I think Snitch made the game just too difficult for Don to play. Like, this Aurelia, hard to play when nobody's low health enough, when you got an explosive cask blasting you out of the fight and you can't get back in. Obviously, Snitch and Don, two of the biggest streamers that we have English language here in Europe. So interesting to see the streamer showdown in middle lane for this semi-finals. Let's take a look at the play of the game and see where it all went wrong for formulation and where it went all so right for RIX. A couple of fights could come to mind. I wonder whether it's that mistake in middle lane. It's around that dragon that we saw the Rift Herald push.
Yeah, we saw this was just after that Rift Herald that the formulation didn't really do too well for them, but it was the counter engage really by RIX. It was actually formulation were the ones that were trying to start the fight, but it was just a counter engage afterwards. The body slam and the flank by SE7, and I felt like he'd done this for most of the game. Instead of Riven and SE7 being at the front line for this team, he was always at the side. He was always trying to make them flanks. He did it once in the mid lane. He did it once during that fight as well. He was able to get picks around the map as well, and he played this Riven really, really well.
He did. It was a very strong performance, and that composition, when you saw the Nunu not even be able to get the ultimate off at all, didn't even start that channel, that's how that team composition falls apart. Nevertheless, we'll see whether formulation can bounce back. RIX lead 1-0. We'll see whether it's RIX advancing to the finals or whether formulation can take us to a game 3 when we come back in just a few minutes.
Frozen over, stuck in time, out of breath in my mind. Is this how it will be when you promised it's you and me? Could it be us? Could it be us? Till forever, forever us. Could it be us? Could it be us? Till forever. Say you'll be mine. Say that you will, say that you will. Say you'll be mine. night breeze fire. Your eyes so bright, the dark will guide us through the night. Bye, bye, my love.
You ready?
We're back from a break, and it is game 2 of RIX versus Formulation. I'm Stress, joined by Stuart, and I'm a little disappointed from game number 1, if I'm being completely honest. I predicted Formulation to win because I like watching Formulation play in their playstyle. I don't really think they got it to work for themselves. RIX, individually, for the most part in that game, was too strong, and as a team, like making their team composition pay off. We'll delve a little deeper into our thoughts from the game in just a few minutes, but let's hear from Hellsdevil on what he thinks was important in game 1.
Thank you very much, Stress. So yeah, we have some key points after that game. Both supports were constantly roaming around. In the early game, it was basically Vecco against Doom, Ziggs against Corki in the lane, and these roams were really, really nice for both teams. And after that, the reason that RIX was able to win this game so hard is they had such an amazing teamfight composition. If you compare it to Formulation Gaming's composition, who had champions like the Aurelia doing the carrying, RIX Gaming had the Corki with the package, Gragas Ultimate, Thresh, Darius, Riven. These are all amazing teamfighting compositions, and they utilized them to their full powers. And then if you look at those champions, Ziggs cannot play against that. Ziggs cannot play against a composition like that, right? Corki package is just gonna dive you. Gragas Ultimate is just gonna push you back. Thresh is gonna pull you back. Basically, all the champions of RIX counter that Ziggs. So RIX did an amazing job picking the right composition and did an even better job executing it perfectly. So I'm gonna be very interested to see what the draft is gonna look next. So for that, I'm gonna give it back to Stress and Stuart to get you into the next draft.
Let's get this game going. Let's see what we can bounce back with from Formulation. Hopefully, I just want a 3-game series, I'll be honest. At this point, I think RIX heavily favored by the looks of things to win this after game 1. SC7 showing us a bit of a different playstyle, and I think really settling into that jungle role for RIX very well.
Yeah, he's done really, really well on the Riven. Like I said, like we said constantly throughout the first game, Riven's not really a pick that we normally see. We normally see these different types of AD bruisers, but Riven's still a pick that has come out a few times, mainly in the mid lane though, and in the barrel lane. We haven't seen too much in the jungle, but with the mobility that it can offer as well, can just be a strong pick. But going into this second draft, I feel like Formulation might come up with something, a bit unorthodox.
I hope so.
Yeah, because Formulation, we know them. I mean, me and you know them, in particular as well, with these kind of crazy little picks. They are going to be on the red side, so they're going to be staying on the red side for this game number 2. So we're going to have to see if any of the bans or the picks are going to switch up.
I think we'll probably keep the same from the RIX side of things. We had the Rakan. I believe we also saw the
Galio.
The Galio was banned out as well. Let's see where we're going. Formulation going to ban out the Fiora. I wonder whether we'll have a slightly higher priority on the likes of Yuumi. We actually haven't seen Yuumi this week at all, after a lot of Yuumi priority last week after the buffs. Of course, we are playing on 3.0.B, the patch you are playing at home. Galio banned away, Varus banned away. So we're pretty much the same bans as the last game from both RIX and Formulation.
Yeah, pretty much the exact same at the moment. Olaf being banned away as well. We're going to be seeing what RIX.GG pick up as the first pick. But I think, your point about Yuumi as well, I feel like it's just like individual play styles or like team play styles in a way, because if you look at Team Queso, they always play, well, not always, but most of the time they play Yuumi, but other teams don't really prioritize it. Game Lord, for example, they love the Corki, but not a lot of other teams pick it up as well. Interesting enough, this is the flex. It's going to be the Gragas being banned by Formulation, and that means Set will be the first pick for RIX.GG. So a little bit of a different draft to what we saw the first game.
Snitch drawing the respect ban on the Gragas. I'm sure he'll be happy to see that. Set picked up first. That leaves us with Ziggs available for Formulation if they want it. I think this is probably a good thing from RIX's side, where they're like, well, if they pick Ziggs, we know what to do against it, and if they don't pick Ziggs, we'll get it for Doom, and that's where RIX have looked very, very strong. Zao are going to pick up the Thresh very early on in this draft.
Yeah, this is kind of his comfort picks. This is what, we know Zawa for. He loves roaming around the map with Thresh, and kind of what Hell said as well about both the supports roaming. It always seems like Clue was always a step ahead of Zawa with them early game roams, especially on Thresh as well. It looks like Zawa was just always one step behind, but now he's on this Thresh. He could be the one that looks to be proactive and is a very, very high priority pick for these two teams. And they're actually going to go for the Corki instead as well. So they're not going to be taking up the Ziggs, which means the Ziggs is open for Doom if they want to pick it up. I feel like if they don't pick up in this first round, it's probably going to be banned away by Formulation the second part of the bans.
Well, it's been a good look for RIX when they've been able to get Doom on that Ziggs. So no surprises that they're going to put that over. I wonder where they're going with their next pick. Could be jungle, could be, of course, Set can flex around a lot, multiple positions he can play from, and it's going to be support picked up. So both duo lanes picked up early on, assuming that there are no flexes towards mid lane from either one.
I guess they're worried that Formulation might ban out other supports, and that just makes the champion pool much, much lower. But now we're seeing Formulation pick up the Darius. This is kind of it's basically a flip of game number one. So now it's RIX that have Ziggs, Braum, and Set, but now it's Formulation that have Thresh, Corki, and Darius. So if it was anything like the first game, we might see a flip. Hopefully we'll get a third game in the series.
The change that I would expect is I wouldn't imagine RIX will pick up the Nunu. I think they're much more likely to have an active jungler for SE7. And then the Aurelia is less of a standard pick and more of a Dawn comfort pick for themselves. So we likely are going to have a couple of swaps around. It's going to be Jax picked up for, banned away, I should say, by Formulation. RIX banning away the Akali. Will we stay our attention towards that jungle for Formulation? There are still a lot of picks available, like Lee Sin, Kha'Zix still banned, still available, I should say. Gragas was banned earlier, so a couple of jungle picks still there.
Yeah, a couple of jungle pits are still left open, but I feel like it's just going to get lower and lower down in the tier list of what junglers are going to be left open, with the Jax being banned away, Jace being banned away as well, which is another one. Maybe RIX.GG are thinking that maybe they can move the Set into the jungle. As you said, we don't really see it too much, but it could still go in the Baron lane or the mid lane. I think that's the great flexibility at the moment that RIX have with this Set. And on the other side with Formulation, they know what to ban out. They're banning up RIX.GG are banning out mid laners because they know that Darius is going to go in the top 8. Oh my god, this is basically a complete flip of the first.
Running RIX's composition. I wonder whether Snitch is looking towards an Orianna here with that Diana ban. That's a lot of the interactions between those two. I know Hells talks about it a lot on stream. So I don't see the Aurelia coming out here from RIX. They're going to pick up the Renekton for top lane for random. We know how strong Renekton can be as a pick in pretty much every meta. Always has that potency. That means it's either mid lane Set or Set going to the jungle, or Renekton in the middle lane. We've seen it flex there a number of times. This last pick is going to give us a clue as to where everything is going.
I see what you did there, Stress. I'm not going to
I was trying to let that one go under the radar.
I'm not going to let that one go by. It's going to be Graves in the end. So it looks like it's going to be SE7 on the Graves in the jungle. So it's either going to be Set mid or Renekton mid for Snitch. And again, going for these AD bruisers. But now what formulation are going to round out their comp with? Are they going to put Kamau in the jungle on the Riven like SE7 did last game? Or would it be maybe a mid lane Riven for Don? I think we have seen Don play mid lane Riven before. It's going to be
mid lane Morgana. It could be mid lane Morgana as well. Like there's flexibility here. This is red side strength, so we won't know until we get into the game. So some flexibility between mid and bot lane here. I wonder whether this Graves is to try and take like early invades against Riven. I don't know how good her early clear is. Obviously Riven can scale pretty well into the game with items, but like Graves loves to try and fight people in the enemy jungle, invade, quickly take a camp, move on with that support from the likes of Braum and that. So we'll keep our eyes on the jungle invades. The supports were very, very active throughout the early game in our previous game. Formulation, maybe this is the tweak and the twist that they were looking for. We've got that Black Shield Darius composition, the combination that we've seen work really well for top laners. So if UI can get rolling in a team fight, Formulation may be able to battle back, but this is an uphill battle for them. RIX looked so unbelievably strong in game number one.
Yeah, they did, and they pretty much dominated game number 1 as well. I mean, I said that I wanted something new from Formulation. This is definitely something new. We don't really see them play Corki too much, and the Morgana pick is very interesting. Like I said, it'd be interesting to see if it's Corki mid or Morgana mid for Don. I mean, it could even be different. It could even be Morgana jungle and Riven mid. I mean, it's something crazy, but it is something that did get buffed a few patches ago. Morgana has the fastest jungle clear out of any jungler in the game because she can kind of do 2 camps at once as well. So I'm actually quite excited to get into this game to see where the lanes are going to be for Formulation. I mean, it'll probably be standard, to be fair. It probably won't be Morgana jungle, but it's something that Formulation have done before. They like these interesting picks, and it's going to be a drum roll.
Okay.
It's going to be Morgana mid.
So it's Morgana mid, which is about as opposite from a pick for Don as Irelia as you can get. So it's a little bit of a different change up in flavor, but I love this roam play Zawa. We saw this week yesterday for Methanol, I think it was, on the Rakan. Flame comes through, random drops down, perfect start. UI getting a first blood once again in this matchup. It did not help him that much last game.
Again, the supports with the roams, and this time it's Zawa on the fresh who roams up. We're kind of seeing this a little bit, quite often. We saw it in the last series as well, where the supports go for this little cheesy play at level 1, and they can try and go into the Baron lane and kind of get the advantage for their Baron laners. Like you said, UI with the first blood will be able to get a little bit of a gold advantage, and they're trying to target Random. They know that Random can be a main carry, and it is known as one of the best Baron laners in EU at the moment, so they want to try and shut them down. But again, it's kind of what Hells was saying as a key point. It is a great key point in the series with the 2 supports roaming around, and UI now has a little bit of an item advantage now. Not gonna be too crazy. Snitch is in a little bit of trouble. He's just taking the auto attacks. He's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to auto attack as much as possible. But look at SC7's aggression already. Instead of going over to his blue buff, he's going to try and get some aggression. But Kemal's here as well. And this could be an early fight around this Rift Scholar.
Yeah, a lot of this is because the way that Thresh roaming out of lane leaves Fekko is he had to back away in the lane. He lost like 300 gold, lost some experience, and that will get evened up over time. But RIX just trying to force that lane under the turret, force the wave to be dropped in the hope that Fekko can't gather the gold from it. However, he does, and it's actually an even state on the gold on bottom lane carries. So it doesn't quite work out in the way that RIX wanted it to, but they were trying to just punish Fekko for that roam level 1 from Zawa. It's actually Zawa now at level 4 already, thanks to that extra experience he got. So did not get punished from being out of lane. And look where he's going again. He's like, I'm going to top lane.
Both supports.
Because last game, when Formulation got first blood, RIX powered up to top lane and just put 3 people up there. It's exactly what's happening again. Flash, here's the lantern, and that's exactly why Thresh is good for security.
I love it. I feel like the duo lane is just swapped like in EU at the moment. I feel like it's just supports are always up in the barrel lane. It just kind of shows the focus of EU at the moment and why these AD bruisers are really, really strong, because teams are focusing and making sure that their AD bruisers can get ahead. Because, sometimes getting your dual lane carries, like I said, they're mainly there as like a wave clear tool. They're not really used there as a main carry. The main carries in the meta at the moment are these AD bruisers. It's going to be the set. It's going to be the Darius when these games get later and later as well. And speaking of the AD bruisers again, here we go. Yeah,
UI is going to be forced to use this barrier eventually.
Lantern again?
Miscommunication
Oh, no.
on where it's gone. The play comes out. That should have been an avoided gank by UI. That should have been clean. Unfortunately, Zawa putting the lantern where Darius was instead of where he was going to be. I think perhaps the flash timing wasn't coordinated there between UI and Zawa.
Like you said, a bit of a unfortunate situation for Formulation there. Again, miscommunication, as you said as well. I think if the lantern came out and he didn't flash, he probably would have survived there. To be honest, he would have been completely fine. But it's the little things sometimes that make a big difference. And unfortunately, there was the lantern and the flash miscommunication, which gives Random the kill. That means that the gold lead is going to go ever so slightly closer together, because UI still has a gold lead, but he's not that far ahead now. He's not as far ahead as what he was before. Now we're looking towards these first dragons and Rift Hells. It's a mountain dragon, which doesn't really get focused down too much by teams. And you can see that already, that both teams are going towards his Rift Hell. Mountain Dragon is just going to be on his lonely island for out and now. As saying that, it looks like SC7 and RIX are going to just trade the objectives. They don't want a team fight early on.
Yeah, they do not, and especially because the package was picked up, as Fekko is going to have that available for Corki. They're not actually committing to the dragons. So, I mean, RIX They're going to commit to it now, as you can see SC7's pathing towards it. I think this is going to result, though, in a dive coming top lane. As there's a Thresh, Zaura is here as well. Rift Herald already put behind the tower. Random going to try and suplex his way out of this one as Kamau has been able to stay alive. That Riven starting to work, the 1-0, and now the tower push on. RIX didn't even commit, although they get the first tower blood at the same time in the bottom lane. Sorry, no, they don't. I was confused by the marker. I thought while the dive was happening that they had picked it up. That tower is still very healthy. It's Formulation that pick up tower first blood. Just a kill goes over on the bottom lane.
Really, really interesting. Kind of, I would say, a misplay, because they just gave Rift Herald for free, and now Formulation with the goldie, the 2000 goldie, they want to try and contest this dragon. Here we go.
Fekko's ultimate is available if he can get it to work. 200 health, and it's actually the Ziggs that steals it. Of course, I was looking at that Corki ultimate, couldn't get it in position for the rocket to steal, but it's another kill going over to Kamau. There's 2 deaths from RIX. They get the dragon, though.
What is it with Doom? He's like, okay, I'm going to play jungle like he did last year. And it was a bit of a meme with Doom, where it's like, oh, okay, Doom would always miss Smite. Now he's playing dual lane. He's getting so many dragons and so many objectives. He got the dragon last week, the Elder Dragon, which won them the game. He just got a dragon there as well. I guess, you know, sometimes the dual lane carries can pick them up. Enough about me with the memes. Another tower by Formulation. That's 2 towers to 0. Even though they did lose a dragon, they got the Rift Herald as well. And this is a much better start by Formulation than what we saw in the previous game.
Yeah, much better. UI is still here as well. Gets the apprehend. They even chain it with the binding. And that is already SE7 falling from this. They're going to back away as Random is down here in the bottom lane. Mid lane was pushed back out by Fekko to try and get some damage down onto the turret. Didn't read it as a full engage. So this was the engage around dragon.
The bomb by Doom just gets it. I absolutely love that. But yeah, even though RIX.GG did start the dragon late, they did get it in the end, which was a little bit scary for both sides. But it was just a team fight win afterwards. And again, I feel like it was a little bit of misplay when the first objectives came up. You saw that SE7 was roaming down to the dragon, but instead of actually taking the dragon, he went back to base, and then he tried to go over to the dual lane instead to try and trade objectives. But by the time he goes back to the base, by the time he walks back onto the map, Formulation took the Rift Herald, they took the top lane tower, they were able to go back to base and spend their money that they got from that first tower gold, and then they used that money to win that team fight in the dragon lane. So a few misplays that we didn't really see from RIX.GG in the early game, which has given Formulation a little bit of an advantage so far, but we'll have to see how Formulation use that gold lead and how they try to extend that gold lead as well, because I think that's the main part of this game. Yeah,
those fights kind of cascading into each other, and now that the package has been at least delivered to Corki, I don't know. Yeah, I was about to say, I hope Fekko actually doesn't pick it up, because there's no neutral objectives up right now, which means it would expire. So leaving it there means they have that threat for the next engage. Now the Rift Herald timer has started, so 1 minute to go until that objective. It's going to give Fekko the time to push mid lane back out, get a little bit of vision, recall, get the package. He's going to farm up Raptors first before he does it. And as long as Formulation play this out safe in top and bottom, they've pushed the waves back out, they can set themselves up for the second Rift Herald of the game.
I think that's the great thing about Corki in his package, is that he can leave it until them big objectives come up. It looks like the Rift Herald is going to be back up very, very shortly. So it's going to be interesting to see if Fekko is going to try and go to the package or not. He's got 20 seconds, so he's got enough time to clear this mid lane tower. It looks like, there you go. He's going to go back. He's going to Valkyrie back. He's going to get that package for this next Rift Herald fight. And I feel like if Formulation get this next Rift Herald, they can look to try and break that mid lane tower, because they got the Baron lane tower already. They got the dual lane tower as well. And now they're going to be looking to try and break this mid lane tower. You can see Corki's gone back to base. You can see his little sound effect that he always gets as well. But both teams will be able to hear that. So RIX.GG know that Fekko has a package available. And this could be a really big team fight to end this game. Yeah, this is a key objective as well, because if this Rift Herald goes over to Formulation, they know it's going to go through mid lane. Yeah, this time around, RIX just not being able to fight around the objectives that they were looking for, and that means on this next minion wave, or at least a minion wave of choice from Formulation, they'll be able to push through mid lane. Everyone's recalling though, so I think this is actually a much calmer Formulation than the last game, where they were like, okay, let's force mid lane, let's go right now with the Rift Herald, and it backfired. Now they're going to wait until they see people top and bottom before they actually commit that that ability. And they only need about 300 damage down onto the turret, a little bit more than that, which is basically 1 round of autos from Morgana and Corki. So a lot easier to push down than a full health tower. Yep. It's gonna be interesting to see when they'll use a Rift Herald as well. I feel like, because they could use a Rift Herald now, but unfortunately Kimau is not in place. They could use it now and use that sort of pressure to go onto the Dragon, but instead it looks like RIX.GG are first to this Dragon, and Formulation are kind of slow, but they're going to be in a team fight. Watch that Dragon health.
They're going to try. They pop Rift Herald for the duration. The smite comes down from SE7, and the damage in the back end by Doom is enough to take out Zao for the first kill of this game. And Doom is pretty much uncontested in this back of the line, but in goes UI, gets the first exchange, doesn't get the flash over the wall. They're going to have to take this Rift Herald into mid lane tower to get just a consolation prize from it, but it's a big consolation prize, if anything. Infernal Drake in exchange for mid lane tower means this Ziggs can no longer just continuously clear mid lane and buy RIX all the time in the world that they wanted. Now Formulation have kind of turned that dial up a little bit.
Unfortunate flash by UI there. You hate to see it in the end, but you can see the Formulation were just slow to this Dragon. Great shield as well by Clue, just blocking all the damage to try and get to the Dragon. And it was actually Zala that went into the backline as well. You talk about Doom in the backline, but a great ultimate by Don as well, being able to lock down the members, use that stasis as well, and yeah, the flash. The flash in the end. You hate to see it, Stress. It's one of them moments where it's just like a facepalm moment. It's like, does it really have to happen? But it happens to the best. It happens to everyone. I'm sure everyone in their time of playing Wild Rift has failed flash at least once. So we'll have to see if there's going to be any more. I don't know about that, Stress. Are you sure? You
can't prove anything. In fact, it's more likely that you've zoned me out on a Javelin ultimate when I'm playing Kennen, to be honest. But Formulation are going to try and set up around middle lane. Stuart, our producer's trolling me, but the people watching can't hear it. It's all right, Stuart. Don't worry. We'll just focus back in on this game between Formulation and RIX. RIX need to really kind of take a team fight win here. Formulation are running away with this one a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. They have about a 5,000 gold lead now for Formulation. Again, it's all about how Formulation uses this gold lead. They've used it quite well so far. They are behind on the Dragons. They haven't got the Infernal and the Mountain Dragons, so the scaling will be there and the extra damage and the shielding will be there for the side of RIX. But 3 towers to 0. RIX haven't taken a single tower this game. From taking 6 towers in the first game and Formulation only having 1, now it's the complete opposite way. But now I feel like Formulation, they need to be proactive in this game. They need to use that gold lead, because if this composition of RIX scale up, they got the likes of the Ziggs, they got Random and Snitch as well. They could be building a little bit tankier, and now it's going to be interesting to see. I wonder if observers could quickly show the items while we're in this brief stage to see where the item spikes are currently are for both teams. Thank you very much. Interesting enough, Corky's gone for the Trinity Force build. This is a really, really old build that we used to see on Corky. It's more to do with using his abilities and using his auto attacks afterwards to get the Sheen passive, and then going for the Infinity Edge afterwards. You can see Doom has a Luden's Echo, going for the Death Cap as well, has a little bit of an anti-heal. But other than that, there's a load of items being completed across the map. Rod of Ages as well for Don, so getting a little bit tanky. But you can see that we're still GG are the ones that are trying to get that mid lane pressure, but meanwhile in the Baron lane, Kamau is the one that's going to be pushing in the lane. No real surprises across the map in terms of item builds or anything, except for really the Corky, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like this game's going to get slowed a little bit until the Dragon. It's about 45 seconds until that's taken down. So Fekko's just going to clear that out, likely back away, get the package, set up for the next fight. And that's the thing about this Trinity Force Manamune Corky is it does hit pretty hard when you can get those autos. The one thing I would say is the opportunity for Corky to actually put damage out is going to be dependent on how quickly this set and this Renekton can get onto the backline. Of course, when he has the package available, it'll be really hard to stay on him. But still, if Corky can't actually get those autos out, he relies a lot more on his abilities just for the damage up front.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you normally see Solari Charge Blade being built as a second item for Corky, just because Solari Charge Blade works so well with his kit. He can use abilities, and his auto attack afterwards is going to have that higher chance to crit. And he's also going to do extra magic damage as well. But now the next Dragon's up. I feel like both these same teams are playing very, very passive, and they're just working towards these next Dragons. And again, it's RIX.GG who are first to party. Corky, he still hasn't got the package. He's going to be really late to this, and this Dragon's completely gone.
Yeah, it's gone. That's the thing. That warning sound around the air raid is going to be like an indicator that they're not there in time, and that means Formulation are taking a 4 versus 5. Does Feko go over the wall with the package? Yes, he does. But look, all it's going to do is split the fight for now. Kamau is going to get a beautiful stun onto multiple people, and it shreds all the way through RIX. The rocket connects, and that might very well be enough for Formulation to be looking towards the Baron, and they may be able to even this series up. We had counted them out after game number 1, but Formulation fire back with a beautiful team fight, and now they're going to take the Baron.
Oh, that was a bit of a stalemate for a second, but Kamau dashing in on the Riven. He didn't use his ultimate at the start of the fight, so he used it then to dash in and then use the second part of the ultimate, which does more damage depending on how much missing health the members of RIX.GG have. And that was it in the end. There was loads and loads low health members for the side of RIX, which means that the second part of that Riven ultimate is going to do more damage. And it was insane engaged by Kamau. We talked about SC7 in the first game, but it was a little bit of a slow start for Formulation. They were a little bit late to the party, but you can see the Corki package here as well on the side. He was trying to focus down SC7 to try and do as much damage as possible, but the package just was kind of there just to zone up the members. But look at Kamau dashing in, boom! Oh, the insane combo there by Riven, being able to dash, get the knock up, then get the stun afterwards as well, and using that second part of the passive as well to deal insane amounts of damage. And I spoke about Formulation and what they're going to do to try and extend this gold lead. It looks like they were just giving up the dragons and just focusing on the team fight straight afterwards, which they're doing so well at the moment. But now they have Baron. Now they're going to look to try and rotate around the map. They're trying to push all 3 waves in, and now they're going to try and look for the engage.
Yeah, they're going to try and go on to SC7. Lands the Ziggs ultimate, but it's not going to be enough to clear it out. With these Baron up minions, it's so hard to clear out, and that means another tower is going to go down as Kamau is pushing in the bottom side. Formulation coming up clutch with everything they needed from that. That wind slash just kind of just crushing through that last fight. And I mean, Riven has a lot of damage. They talk about broken wings, but more about broken ankles from that one, as Feko is going to be able to back themselves away. And RIX, I think this basically is a very difficult situation for them to be in. Binding lands, and Don, it's a very different style from the Aurelia, but he's made it work for himself, and UI is going to play the front line all the way through. This is Sour, has bought time. Backing away from the fight, Zhao is still quite low, will get dropped, and maybe this is an overextension from Formulation. They're buying time because bottom lane Kamau is pushing through, but I don't know that they can get an inhibitor from this. This actually might be a little less than Formulation would have expected from this Baron buff.
Yeah, they tried to push all 3 waves. They tried to move around RIX, but RIX did really well to kind of predict the movement of Formulation. They all roamed up into the top lane, but RIX.GG were there. But I have to give a quick shout out to Don. These dark bindings that he's landed throughout the whole of this game has been really well played by him, but unfortunately it was enough to get the inhibitor towers, and now it's going to all come down to that Elder Dragon. It's going to be spawning in about a minute's time. So if RIX.GG pick that up, they already have 3 dragons. So Formulation's Elder Dragon is not going to be that strong, but they're not going to try to do it. And oh no, this could be terrible.
Don may very well be caught out, though. Black Shield is going to keep him alive from a moment, and it's actually Formulation that now have 2 members of RIX caught in the top lane. However, look at where Zaur is on the map. Look at how low Formulation are. This may very well have been an overextension as Formulation. Do they have the damage to survive? Do they have the health to survive? This, I don't know what happened with the fact that Zaur was just back in base. Formulation on different pages, and RIX, this has been the entry point back into the game for them. They've got the health bars low.
Could be
25 seconds until the Baron comes up, 10 seconds until Elder. What did Formulation commit topside for?
They saw the members of RIX.GG. They realized there was only 3 members up there, but like you said, Zhao was in base. They were trying to catch out the kind of split members of RIX in the end, but Snitch was able to survive, and then Random was able to survive as well in the Baron lane, and now it all comes down to his Elder, but they're not going to start it. They know that the jungler is down. Oh, I didn't realize that. SC7 is
died,
down.
yeah.
So SC7 died, which means that RIX can't start this Baron. We're going to look back at this. Look at it. Random and SC7 up in the top side. They were trying to get members. Look at this. There's a 4 versus 2 situation, but Clue was there as well to defend all the damage, and Snitch as well with the flank. And unfortunately, Zhao was back into the base. So this turned from a positive situation for Formulation to actually RIX.GG, the ones that are actually rotated a lot quicker than Formulation, and they actually got the advantage from it. But unfortunately, SC7 did die, which means that they couldn't take the Elder Dragon. And it's all going to come down to this. Even though the goal lead is 8,000, honestly, it doesn't really mean that much. I feel like whoever takes this Elder Dragon can still win this game, especially if it goes over to the side of RIX as well, because they have 3 dragons, and maybe we're going to look at Doom, maybe steal another Elder Dragon. If he does it again, I'm going to be mind blown.
Look at the damage onto Fekko, who has the package available. That's going to force Formulation back away from the Elder and SE7. We saw this in the last game, him playing the side lane, playing that Riven split push. This time it's on the Graves. This is Riven on the side of Kamau, starting up the Elder, but in goes SE7. He's trying to find Kamau. Package comes through. Formulation are reaching for this. There's a Guardian Angel on SE7, and now Fekko may very well have overextended. Can they get Formulation back out from this? They've been playing so well this game, but Fekko is down. The damage is falling away from Formulation. It's now down to Don basically alone, and RIX, I think they may very well have come back in this game. I think they might have just been doing enough. Teleport coming through from Kamau. He's bought his way back into this fight. We saw them win a big fight around Dragon. That's going to be Zawa falling from this as Kamau takes a chunk of damage. It's actually Don is the one that gets blasted down, and it's Kamau that survived. And I think Formulation, they haven't deterred the Dragon because SE7 is back onto it.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to take the Elder Dragon in the end. I don't think there's any way Kamau can get into it. And that's a 4-Dragon Elder now. You can see random TP, and there's more teleports happening as well.
Yeah, Don is coming back into it. Still 2,000 health on that Drake, but they cannot get close enough thanks to random teleporting in. That inhibitor tower is so low in the top lane, but it has not been cracked by Formulation. And despite the fact they took the first Baron of the game, they've been able for RIX to steady this game back into potentially a comeback.
Yeah, it was Kamau and Fekko who tried to catch out SE7, but with all the dashes and everything he has available because of his passive and because of his item build, he can keep dashing around. He even dashes forward there to kill off Fekko.
We're back into a Baron fight. There's a good Ziggs ult is going to eat Kamau's health bar, and Kamau is down, UI is down, Don is down, and I think Formulation's chances have gone down into the dirt as RIX, they have come back from being so far behind against Formulation. They have now got all 4 dragons. They have taken the Baron, and the priority on those objectives from RIX throughout the game has really come back to bite Formulation. Formulation could not close the game off their Baron, whereas I think RIX, they're about to do it.
Oh, this is so unfortunate for Formulation. I felt like Formulation were just a little bit too passive this game. They were just waiting for the dragons to come up, but they never focused on the dragons. And this is it. This is a comeback.
RIX will 2-0 their way past Formulation Gaming, and it looked a little shaky in the second game, but RIX showing us why you can never count them out on the comeback. They understand where Formulation are pushing in towards them, hold themselves, and then the late game team fights. This is one of the reasons you cannot give Doom Ziggs the damage, just destroying Formulation.
Yeah, insane comeback by RIX in the end, and it was there for Formulation. They had about a 10,000 gold lead at one point in the game as well. They had it all in their grasp. They were ready to get into it, but again, when it came to the mid game, I felt like Formulation, they just didn't really do that much. You know, they weren't really proactive. And I was saying during the game as well, I want to see Formulation be more proactive. They have the gold lead. Maybe they didn't realize they were that far ahead in the game because obviously you can't really see the gold difference and things like that. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to kind of understand how far ahead you are as well. And they won some of these team fights as well. You can see this team fight, Kamau as well. But unfortunately, on the side of Formulation, they couldn't push any inhibitors with this Baron wave. RIX.GG defended it really, really well. And in the end, they just couldn't really push into the base, and they couldn't take that gold lead advantage. And RIX, in the end, able to come back, and what an insane comeback as well by RIX.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic comeback, and I think a lot of it comes from the fact that RIX are the type of team that even if they're losing objectives on one side of the map or losing a fight on one side of the map, they're always working for something at the same time. It's rare that you see a team go 10k gold down throughout the game and get all 4 dragons and still be able to contend in these fights and have the damage on Doom. And I think Doom really did a good job in these late game team fights of getting the damage where he needed, but SE7 creating space around the map really made Formulation think about where they were going to go aggressive and where they could make plays, and we saw them kind of get pulled apart a little bit throughout the end of this second game.
And you can see how hard it is for Formulation to win this last team fight as well when you lose 4 dragons, all 4 of them as well. And again, it kind of comes back to a little bit of the point that we mentioned where they weren't really focusing the dragons that much, and RIX in the end were just like, okay, we're just going to take the dragons. We're going to try and get that scaling into the mid and the late game. And it did work for them in the end. I mean, it wasn't the cleanest game by RIX. We've definitely seen a lot more cleaner games from them, especially the first game as well. But it just shows that this team is so strong together. And even if they are behind, they can stick together as a team and they can still make the comeback as well. I'm interested to see the damage as well, because I feel like Doom's damage this game, is absolutely disgusting on the Ziggs. The amount of ultimates that he hit and the amount of poke that he landed as well really made a difference, especially when they took the dragons in the early game as well.
That is probably the second best comeback we've had. I think the Control Zero Zone comeback may very well have been a bit more of a nail biter, thrilling comeback. This one was more about like RIX working for it, like really punishing Formulation. that swing back up into the side of Formulation really into RIX really tells you how the end of that game played out. And I mean, this is why RIX are the team that we're expecting to take a step towards the finals. It's official now. Our upper bracket finals is going to be Game Lord against RIX, which is the showdown we've been waiting for absolute weeks. We need to take a look at the play of the game from this series, from this second game, I should say. I mean, there were a few fights towards the end that RIX really punished Formulation from being out of position.
There was a lot of turning points, and this was the one that I wanted to focus on as well. Luckily, we got this play of the game, but it was the overextension by Formulation, which I felt like they did a little bit when they're trying to chase down the members. They realized that RIX.GG are out of position, but it was actually RIX the ones that were able to capitalize on the mistakes of Formulation, which happened a few times this game. It happened in this top lane play, and I felt like that was the start really of the turning point. You saw that goalie when it went really, really well in Formulation's favor, and then that was a little dip back up into RIX's favor. That's kind of where it all started. That was when RIX.GG were able to take the advantage, able to control the map a little bit more as well. Then after that, they took the Elder Dragon. They capitalized on the mistake of the chase that kind of happened towards SE7 in a way. Then they took that Baron fight afterwards. They won that Baron fight and they were able to end the game. But I feel really unfortunate for Formulation because, like you said, they're a team that pick these kind of unpredictable picks. They definitely picked champions that I've really enjoyed watching them as well, but I'm sure they'll be back in the last chance qualifier.
Yeah, they also aren't out, remember. They're going to be dropping down to the lower bracket, so we may very well still see more of Formulation. They will join Team Queso, Na'Vi, and for some reason, it's Viv Esports. That's 4 teams that are still very deadly in that bottom bracket, the lower bracket. I think this was a real good insight into RIX's development as a team and the way that we've seen them go from, being great players and the players that were together last year being strong as a team to now incorporating their newer players in there as well. Really getting that strong basis as a team and teamwork, fighting back up against Formulation in game number 2. Let's hear from the team themselves as we've got Snitch for an interview with Hells.
That's right, and welcome Snitch to the interview. And I want to say that was a very nice game to watch, and it was surprisingly close, especially the second game. And did you expect this series to be this hard? Because sure, first game you guys dominated, but the second game, Formulation Gaming, showed a really good fight.
Yeah, I think the second game, Formulation played a style that is really not what we expect from them. Putting like Dawn on Morgana, for example, it's really not what we expect his champion pool to be. We definitely thought, the Aurelia like game 1, more of these melee assassins, Akali and this kind of stuff is what we expected them to play. That's their normal style. So they definitely shook it up game 2, took a totally different draft, out of left field. And I think that's why the game felt very different, because we were planning for kind of like one style, and they definitely showed that they have a lot more depth than we expected.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And so you're up against Game Lord next match, and obviously Game Lord is known as to be one of the titans, right? Like it's RIX and Game Lord. How are you feeling going into that series?
I mean, I think we just always expect it to be a great and difficult series. I think, the entire time I've been playing Wilder professionally, Game Lord has always been the team that every game feels like, you're crawling over the finish line. Like, I remember that we had this, 27-minute epic at Origin series, and it just always feels like every game is, pushing you to your limits all the time. Like, they're always the final boss of Europe. I think, other teams are obviously great, but it's just something about whenever our team meets Game Lord, the games are so close and so tense, and you feel like you have to, play 110% to stand a chance. So it's always really exciting to play against them for that reason and have these really high caliber games.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to that game. And I want to ask you this. Up until now, in the WREC, you've won every single game. So all 2-0s. And a lot of the games were won pretty convincingly. So are you 100% confident, like, as RIX, with the new roster? You know, with SC7 and Random and Doom in the ADC. Are you guys 100% confident now? Or do you still feel that you guys have a better team still coming after more practice?
No, I definitely feel like we have such a long way to go. I mean, I think, we have really talented players and everybody's really flexible in champion pools as well, which I think is a big thing. And it enables us to play and focus and learn so many different styles. So I think the depth of our team is honestly pretty limitless because we can just play like almost anything, it feels like. But we're always willing to push ourselves and draft and play style. I think we honestly have even more to grow, and as metas change, I think we'll be one of the teams that are really good at, finding new picks and sticking to new things. But I definitely don't feel like we've reached our peak at all. And I think we, throughout the rest of the year, we'll have even more growth to show.
Oh, that's so great, Ter. Thank you so much for the interview. I wish you the best of luck in the tournament. I'll be seeing you after winning against Game Lord as well here. And yeah,
hope so.
Do it and stress to finish it off. Yeah.
Always great to hear from Snitch, and always gives really in-depth answers as well. I love like hearing about the expectation from Don, and to be honest, that was kind of our estimation. Like we see the Morgana, we're like, oh, Don doesn't play Morgana. Like, what's that? So really interesting to hear how, in a way, RIX really prepared for the series and knew the playstyle they were playing up against and had a strategy against it. But then on the fly, can adjust like a top team and say, okay, it's not what we expected, it's not what we prepared, but we know how to play it out from here and actually to fight back. So a really interesting second game of that series. And we have to crown an MVP. Snitch, I'm sorry, it's not you. You did a brilliant performance in Game 1 on Gragas, a good performance in Game 2 on Renekton, but I think there was only really one player that we could look at when it comes to that MVP, and that is going to be SC7. I'm going to just jump the gun on who is going to be SC7 playing at a jungle. I think he's really settled in to this playstyle that RIX have been bringing to the dance.
Yeah, like we kind of mentioned before this series, SC7 took a little bit of the time to kind of adapt to the RIX.GG playstyle, but now they've had a lot more time to prepare. They've had this week as well. They've been practicing behind the scenes as well, picking up these different picks as well, like Riven in the jungle. He was completely dominant in that first game. And even with the Graves as well in the second game, he was rotating around the map. He baited as well the members of Formulation right at the end here, being able to just dash around, use his aggressive playstyle to kind of catch Formulation off guard. And I'm really excited to see the showdown match of RIX.GG as well between Game Lord, the two junglers as well, Zephyr and SC7. It's going to be an amazing series, and I just can't wait to get that one started next week.
So many storylines. Lonely Kid against Random, Zephyr SC7, mid lane, you've got Snitch going up against Riz, you've got Redemption, you've got Doom, you've got Hester, you've got Clue. Oh, it's all so good. How's this going to join us? Because there's too much interesting stuff for us to talk about with that matchup. That means our finals is set for that matchup between Game Lord and RIX. I mean, that's not the only interesting matchup for us, though. When we take a look at the bracket, I mean, our lower bracket is stacked. There's our finals, our winners' finals. So one of those teams will go to the grand final and put themselves one step away from a spot in Barcelona at the finals. Lower bracket, though, Viv against Na'Vi, Formulation versus Queso. Both are great matches, but Hells, is there one that you think sticks out?
I mean, after seeing Formulation play today, not really. Every single match is going to be amazing. We know Na'Vi Viv Esports is going to be an amazing one because we saw what Viv Esports can do by playing against Game Lord. But then the other one as well, Formulation Gaming, incredibly powerful. And I'm sure they're going to be doing pretty good against some of the other teams as well. So every single match is going to be good. Obviously, RIX against Game Lord is going to be the main match, right? But I think every single one is going to be a banger from now on.
Yeah, one update to the graphic you just saw on screen. We've got tomorrow's games coming up. It's not RIX versus Queso. I made the graphic. Don't worry. I was just putting my Formulation prediction in there. It's going to be Formulation versus Queso in the lower bracket. It's actually going to be, as you said, RIX versus Game Lord in our upper bracket finals. That's one heck of a series. We have two good series coming tomorrow. We had two good series today. Even though the second series was a 2-0. Formulation showing that different side of themselves. Like, Stuart, you and I think we're on the same page when it was like Formulation, they're going to win this game and it's going to go to game 3.
we were both on the same wavelength, you know, and I think Snitch and RIX were kind of on the same wavelength as well. When you thinking about the picks for Formulation and the Don in the mid lane, again, I kind of expected Formulation to bring out something new, and that's a great thing about the team as well. It's going to be really interesting when they come up against Team Queso as well. I think the lower bracket games are going to be very, very close. They're going to be coming tomorrow. But yeah, the upper bracket final, we like to call it really the El Clasico in Wild Rift. Both these teams have played against each other so much, and that game is just going to be probably one of the best in the entire tournament, probably the top 2 teams as well in the tournament. But yeah, lower bracket tomorrow. We're going to say goodbye to 2 more teams as well, which is going to be really harsh to see 2 of these teams kind of leave the tournament tomorrow.
It will, but there's only 1 spot in Barcelona up for grabs. That means we need to whittle these last 6 teams down even further. Thank you very much for joining us. I will not be on the broadcast tomorrow. It'll be Scoundrel helming the ship for more exciting games. I'm kind of jealous. There's 2 great series tomorrow that I wish I was here for, but I've been Stress, joined by Stuart and Hell's Devil. We will catch you on tomorrow's broadcast for 2 more important series of WREC. We'll see you then.